And the theory is that the basically that the Knicks, right? The Knicks have the same problem that the Cowboys have, right? Which is that okay? So you look at it historically, right? Um, the Lakers, the Cowboys and the Yankees are the three biggest franchises as far as the history of winning and just like brand power in their respective leagues. And I think that what you'll notice with those franchises is that normally when they win Super Bowls, they don't win like a singular one, Super Bowl at a time, right? Normally they'll win in bunches, right? So like the Yankees historically, we're going back to Ruth and Garrick, and then to Maggio and Mickey Mantle and Yogi Bear, and then even Reggie Jackson in the '70s. And then, of course, the Derek Jeter dynasty, where they won 4 out of 5 years, and they came back and won another one in 2009. But that was also kind of like, I mean, they still had that core four, right? So it was in a certain way, it was separate from the first four, but it was still five for Jeter, five for Rivera, fifth for those guys, fifth for Pettit, fifth for Posada, right? So I think that when you look at it, um, there's so the Yankees, then you have like the Cowboys, right? The Cowboys won in the '70s. That was Roger Staubach, right? And then the Cowboys won, of course, with the triplets, Irvin and Aikman and Emmitt Smith, right? And then if you look at the Lakers, right? There's Showtime, and then there's Shaq and Kobe, and then there's like a 5 year, oh, it's actually a 7 year. Shaq and Kobe split in after the 2004 season. By 2008, the Lakers are back in the finals. It's a different team, but it's still Kobe and D. Fish. But even still, that team they three-peat with Shaq and Kobe, then they went 2 out of 3 finals with Kobe and Gasol. They make the finals 3 years in a row. Now they won in the bubble later with LeBron and AD, and they also won in '72. That was with Wilt and Jerry West and Gail Goodrich, and they were finally able to pull it off. But really, in '72, the Lakers, the legacy of the Lakers had not yet been established, even though they were in LA. This is not the period where it really wasn't. Showtime really was the beginning of the Lakers as we know them. And so by the time Shaq and Kobe came around, by the time Shaq got to LA, that's when it's like, okay, the expectations are to win championships with Shaq and Kobe in the same way that we won with Magic and Kareem and Worthy and all those guys, right? And so '72 didn't really count in the context of this theory that I have. Now the Knicks, right? Well, basically the thinking is that to win, the reason that those franchises, and also the Cowboys, rest of the Cowboys, they won with Pearson. What on? Was Drew Pearson on those teams? But like I said, Staubach and Tom Landry, right, in the '70s, and then they come back around, and Jerry Jones buys the team, and he gets Jimmy Johnson, and he gets the triplets, and they win 3 out of 4, right? Now I wasn't around. I mean, I was around. I was alive, but I can't really say if. I mean, by then for sure the Cowboys were already. I think in the late '70s, the Cowboys, the term, America's team had already been applied to the Cowboys. But I would guess. I can't say for sure. I mean, surely. I mean, the Cowboys. By the time by the time Jerry bought the team, the Cowboys were a huge brand. and he fires Tom Landry, and it's a big deal, right? Um, but for certain, one thing's for certain is that after they won those three in the '90s, now it's like, oh, ever since then it's been like, okay, how do you as a franchise climb that mountain again to get back to that level of being a Super Bowl winning team? And so that's the expectation, right? But basically, the theory is that the reason that franchises like that, when they win in bunches because if you're only good enough to win one championship with playing for the Cowboys or the Yankees or the Lakers, then you're not going to win any championships because the pressure and the expectation to win, and it's even worse. Dallas is, a pretty big city, but it's not like LA or New York. So the media pressure of playing for or playing in New York City or playing for the Lakers maybe even adds to the burden that's on you when you play for those franchises. Once the team is good and the expectations to deliver championships. Now the Cowboys, because the NFL is the biggest sport, and because of how Jerry Jones, keeps the Cowboys in the media, it's in a certain sense. They might as well be playing in LA or New York because the media attention is and the scrutiny is that great, and the Cowboys fan base is as big as the Lakers or the Yankees, even if we don't associate Dallas with being the same big market type as LA or New York, right? Now the Knicks have not won a championship since 1973. The Knicks only won two championships. That was in 1970 and 1973. So it's a 52-year drought for the Knicks, right? But what it is that because of New York, because it's New York City, and I've never been in New York City, but I have great admiration for the place because I recognize that it. My grandmother just went once and she told me that it really is like different. Like it's the vibe is just different. And I always, like New York hip. Everyone from LA, I liked New York hip hop growing up. And I just always admire. I admire and respect New York City. And so, basically the Knicks, it's not the same expectation to win because, like I said, they've only won two championships. But I think it's the same pressure, if not a little bit more, because they haven't won in so long, right? So it's the same pressure to win as the Lakers, the Cowboys, and the Yankees once the Knicks are actually good. Right, like they are now. Like the Knicks are good right now. It's like in the '90s they were good, and I think basically that I guess I already said it. But the theory is that basically the Knicks problem is the same problem that the Cowboys have, which is that they're just not quite good enough. And I know they won the night. And who knows what will happen the rest of the series, right? But the thought came to me when they fell down 0-2. And the first two games were in Madison Square Garden in New York City, and they lose. And it's like, okay, this Pacers team is good, but they're not that good, right? Like it's not like the Pacers don't have better players than the Knicks. The Pacers have Halliburton, who I love, and Siakam, a very underrated like wingman. And then the rest of these guys, Nembhard, Miles Turner. Miles Turner is probably the third biggest name on the Pacers simply because he was always in trade rumors involved in the Lakers. And then like T.J. McConnell, he's white, no disrespect, but like that helps, right? So people know T.J. McConnell, but the rest of these guys, and Obi Toppin used to play for the Knicks, so people know him. But it's a bunch of Monty Jones. It's a bunch of basically miscellaneous guys around like Halliburton and Siakam, right? And but the Knicks have Jalen Brunson, have Towns, they have OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart. The Knicks starting five really is better than the Pacers starting five. And now the Pacers play more people than the Knicks do on average, but it's not like they're that good. They just play more people, right? Like if the Knicks played Precious and Campaign didn't play tonight, but the Knicks probably have 10 guys who can match the Pacers 10 guys, but the Knicks just don't play as many people, right? And so, there's really no reason for the Knicks to be down 0-2 to the Pacers after those first two games, except that the pressure. If you watch the games, you notice that the Pacers just play more loose. The Pacers are basically playing with a regular. In those first two games, at least, the Pacers were playing with regular playoff pressure, which every team has. Whereas the Knicks are playing with the pressure of New York City and trying to get to the finals for the first time since '94. It's just so much different. It's like one team playing just regular basketball, and the other team is playing, but they're playing with ankle weights and like a backpack with or some type of like a bodysuit or something like that. Whatever that would like weigh you down and make it harder for you to play. And I think that's why. So the Knicks now are 6-1 on the road in these playoffs, and only 3-5 at home. And basically, what it is that when they play it in New York, that crowd is it's such a basketball crowd, and they're so excited. And the deeper the Knicks get, the more rabid the fan base becomes. And I think it's just too much for the Knicks to perform under that pressure, because though they're good, they're not that good, right? They're good, but they're not that good to be able to deal with that type of pressure, And I think with the Cowboys, it's like the same thing. Starting with the Tony Romo era, the Cowboys have had a lot of talented teams, and that goes back to 2006. And yet, every single team in the NFC has made the conference championship since the Cowboys last made it in 1995. And I just think it's because the Cowboys, those Romo teams, the Cowboys have had a bunch of teams that won 11, 12, 13 games over the last 20 years. And yet they haven't been in the conference championship game. And I think the reason for that is just because they're good, but good is not enough to win when you're playing under those type of expectations and that type of pressure. Good is not good enough, because you have to be special to win. And even a team so New York Giants, they won 2 Super Bowls with in the 86 and 1990 with Lawrence Taylor and Bill Parcells. Well, that's Lawrence Taylor and Bill Parcells. That's the greatest defensive player of all time, and that's the one of the greatest head coaches of all time. Somebody who's big enough to deal with that New York, the New York media and stuff like that. And he Parcells turned around and took the Jets to the AFC Championship for the first time. And I'm not sure did they make it with the New York Stock Exchange? I was watching that documentary. I know they got to at least the division round. I'm not sure if they made it to the conference. I think they did make it to the conference championship game. Was it 81 or 82, something like that. And and then of course those Giants, like I said, they didn't just win one; they won 2. So the theory holds up, right? And then you go, well, yeah, they won 2, and then right, and then you have the Giants with Eli, right? People debate back and forth about Eli Manning, but as a playoff quarterback, there are not 5 quarterbacks in the history of football that I would rather have start a Super Bowl or a big playoff game for me than Eli Manning. They're not 5, right? And so those Giants team that won in 2007 and 2011, those were. I think they went 10-6 in 2007, and they went 9-7 in 2011, and they beat the undefeated 18. The Patriots were 18-0 going to that game in 2007, and they beat the Patriots again in 2011. And the Patriots were the greatest team of all time that era that they had. 2007 Patriots team was the greatest team of all time. That run they had was the greatest run they ever had. Brady, Belichick, and the Giants beat them twice because forget what their record was, 10-6, 9-7. On paper, when that Giants team was clicking on all cylinders, nobody wanted to see them. That was a fantastic Giants team when they were clicking on all cylinders, But those were special teams that the Giants had, and I just think that the Knicks, who have never had, as I said before, the Knicks have never had a god tier player, right? And I think that includes Frazier and Willis. They were very good, but they weren't Russell, they weren't Wilt, they weren't Kareem, they weren't Magic or Bird, they weren't Jordan, they weren't Shaq, Kobe, LeBron, Tim Duncan. They weren't. I don't think that they were quite to that level of player. Next level right below that, sure, but probably not quite to that level of player. I know there's some people who would probably disagree with me on that, especially about Walt Frazier, probably. But yeah, as you saw with the Ewing years, Patrick Ewing was a fantastic player, but it just wasn't quite enough, all those years, and then as Ewing got a little bit older, and then it was Sprewell and Houston, and it still just wasn't quite enough. Carmelo Anthony, another fantastic player, but he's not LeBron. He wasn't Kevin Durant. So and now you have Jalen Brunson, another fantastic player. And Cat, who talent wise maybe he's that level of player, but he hasn't won anything. So like I said, they've never really had a player like that. They have some great, fantastic, terrific Hall of Fame players, but never quite that one of, the type of player that they make one or two of every generation. They never had that. And so, and I think Brunson, as I talked about last episode, with him being so small, only 6'2", and I think that, they use Brunson pretty much the same way that the T-Wolves use Edwards, and that the Lakers are now would use Luka, or the Mavericks use Luka. The way that the Thunder use Shai Gilgeous, and so on and so forth. Like I said, he's only 6'2", and in the history of the game, the only guys under 6'4" to be the best player on a championship team are Isaiah Thomas and Curry. And Curry's a rangy 6'3". Like Curry and Brunson don't. There's a 1 inch difference in what they're listed as, but they seem to be about 2 inches apart. Like Curry seems to be a bigger man. Like you wouldn't, like if Steph Curry and I don't think Steph Curry and Jalen Brunson would be in the same weight class if they were boxers. It wouldn't be a natural matchup. Curry would probably be like a weight class or 2 bigger than Jalen Brunson. So, and I think that's why tonight you saw. It's like, it's one thing if you got Shai Gilgeous or if you got Ant-Man. First of all, at the end of the day, Kobe said this years ago about James Harden. We've all seen the clip. I think he sitting next. No, he sitting next to McGrady. I think he was talking to what's her name, Rachel Nichols, and he was saying that you can't win a championship playing that uh, 1 versus 5 style of play. You know, and when I think about it and I look back, um, who has won like that? Even Michael Jordan. I mean, he didn't win until Phil Jackson came and brought the triangle offense into play. So, I mean, and that's how teams are built. They're built that way with a guard who's ball dominant, playing up top, and everything comes from him playing up top. But who has actually won the title doing that? The Warriors didn't play like that. Warriors ran a motion offense, and Craig ran around screens. Now he could, operate from up top and just create, and make everything happen. But that's not how they won any of those championships, with him doing that, right? And then, so if you look, or you go back and like I said last episode, a lot has been made of the fact that it's going to be 7 straight years this year where a different team has won the championship, so no repeat champion. And not just not a repeat champion, but a different champion every year, right? So, and I think if you look at it, going back to 2019 for the Raptors with Kawhi, 2020 that's the Lakers with Bron and AD, 2021 that's Giannis, 2022 that's the Warriors, 2023 that's Denver, and 2024 that's Boston.